Welcome to EnVision Center News, where we discuss community impact and involvement with today's nonprofit leaders and philanthropists. Thank you for joining us again today. I'm here with Claire Honsinger from Good Horse Grants, and I'm so excited to have you here, Claire, for a couple of reasons. One, so that we can introduce you to our community, and two, because you align so well with what the EnVision Center is trying to do with empowering our community and doing good and really getting everybody's message out there. So let's jump in and give us a rundown on Good Horse Grants and what you do.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Katie. I'm excited to be here and really, really passionate about what you guys are doing with meeting the needs of the community where they're at and extending to the nonprofit community and helping all ships rise or boats rise together. It's kind of been stormy the last couple of years, and it's pretty neat to see you guys coming through the other end of it and helping people thrive. So
Yeah,
thank you. I started Good Horse Grants in 2021 after I started writing grants in 2015. The first one was for supporting Shakespeare in the parks and working with Christine Holbert of Lost Horse Press. And we got that funded, and she turned to me, she's like, "You could be a grant writer." And I was like, "Wow, that's something, that's cool." And then I started working in the nonprofit field, and as everybody, nonprofits has awareness. The grants are a big part of keeping your organization afloat and accessing funding that is set aside by donors for particular different missions and purposes. So just found a lot of success there in terms of it's a good fit for my skill set and really loved it, and ended up working at North Idaho College for 3 years as a grant specialist and then as the grants manager, which was a whole nother level of excitement because it involved working with department heads across the whole campus and knowing what everybody was doing and making sure that we had just one applicant for each grant that was going out and just really coordinating people and helping them get the resources they needed. So it really prepared me well to work across the community with different people doing different things, having different needs, and yet the same passion for helping our community. So in 2021 started the business. Right after that, found out that I was expecting, which was incredible news, and it was very fun to be able to build the business and be growing the baby, and then just trust that as I needed to take time to raise her and get back on my feet, that the business would be okay. And it's been really amazing to step back into it now, and she's a year and a half old, and the community is still here, and we're just excited to have this point of engaging with people. And my mission now is to meet as many of nonprofit leaders and volunteers as I can, so I can get a tab on what's the need now, what are people excited about now, what's going on in this particular moment in our community's history, because there's some really cool opportunities and some challenges for sure. And I want to come alongside people and empower them. I don't want people to feel like, oh, grants, we really need you because we can't do this ourselves. Like, you can. Like, grant writing is a fairly simple, straightforward process. Anybody can do it. Can be intimidating. I'd like to help take some of the sting out so then people can feel empowered that they can use what we collaborate on their own, which a lot of my people do. They'll get started with me and then they take it and run with it, and we just check in from time to time. And some people just would like the support ongoing, and I'm here for all of it.
Yeah, I love it. I love the vision of, being that community liaison and having a pulse on what everyone is doing so that you can connect them to the right people, the right projects, the right grants that are going for them, and really just helping them all rise to the front. I think, like we were talking about, there's money available out there for everyone, and how we get our hands on it, how we then also, empower them to continue in the future of taking those words and using them to reach another audience and another grant, and just like gaining that confidence, and also just building that trust of relationship with people. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your name, Good Horse Grants. We talked about this once before, and I just love the approach. So can you share?
Sure. Yeah. I'm really excited about it. It's an odd name for a nonprofit consulting group, just to have an animal in there. Usually it's like so-and-so consulting or something. But like, I have a connection with horses and have since I knew they existed, and wanted one all my childhood. And finally, like when I was 14, we got a horse, and they're just such a I don't know, like noble companion or like a unconditional friend who also has boundaries and they know how to keep themselves well. And that's such a lesson for me of like you show up and you are here to care for and be compassionate towards somebody and you don't sacrifice yourself in the process. So I've learned a lot from my horse, who this is named after. Her name's Kiara, and for a lot of years I was going through some stressful times and I carried around a lot of anxiety, and she noticed that and she was like, you do you over there and I'm going to go over here while you figure yourself out. And then as I worked through my anxiety piece, she would come over more and just hang out more, and I realized like she was letting me know that she was taking care of herself within our relationship, and that's different than what we've talked about before. But like, so then I had an opportunity to work with some children who had autism, and we ended up developing this little program that I called The Good Horse, and it was based on Kiara and then her sidekick, who's also her granddaughter. Her name's Cassie, who's very different, and her work is to learn how to respect boundaries. And Cassie would like to be like in your pocket if possible, and Kiara would be more like, I'm good over here. Like, you take care of yourself, and when we're feeling good, like, then we can come together. But so it gave opportunities for the people to establish their boundaries, but also work on their own personal sense of safety at the same time. And then so then I had an opportunity to open this grant business, and I was like, what would my name be? And like, it's horses. Like, they have integrity. They show up and they tell the truth about what's going on, and they see you for who you are, and they are willing to keep hanging with you. Like, and they're not just going to leave because you have an issue. Like, they'll give you a chance, and they'll carry you forward to the next phase of wherever you're going. And like, going out people with, being here with them with where they're at. Like, there's nothing wrong with where you're at, but let's get grounded. Let's take care of you, because nonprofits are at the front line, like holding up the roof for our community. And there's a lot of stress, and there's a lot of anxiety of like, are you going to be able to pay the bills and keep your people paid? And like, that's real. It's and I want to acknowledge that just out of the gate, and come to people with a lot of gratitude of thank you for keeping our community the way it needs to be, so that we can keep living here. Like, and acknowledging where do your needs, where are you at, where's your desire, where would your, if you had all your needs met, where would that take you, and then we find ways to empower, and like, how can you get your needs met, what's holding you back, let's remove those barriers, and then get you energized so you can carry on. And then if I keep holding your hand through that, great. Or if you have what you need now to go and be successful with grants, that's awesome. I want people to just have what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you mind sharing a little bit about some of the success stories and the other nonprofits that you've been working with?
Sure. Yeah. Gosh. The two that are sticking out to me right now is the North Idaho Pride Alliance, who is an early partnership in winter of 2021, and they were going through a transition of they had lost their building. There was an issue with like their staff needed to move on, and they were just at this like, what's gonna happen? Are we gonna have to downsize, or can we get bigger? Like, they wanted to get bigger. The need was growing, if anything, for their services, and we were able to come alongside them and help put together a package of what grants are out there for them, help them write a few, and set up a calendar so that it would give them automatic reminders of throughout the year, like which grant's coming up, and they can choose if they applied to it or not. And then I went on maternity leave, and it just kind of like all baked for a while.
Sure.
And then heard like some grants got funded, and they could hire their first executive director and just build momentum, which was so perfect, because that was the year that there was some serious like threats to their pride in the park with the Patriot Front attempts there, and that primed them to, like, they had staffing in place so they could handle the attention that came to them, and through that cultivate more donors and more support, and they are, have come back bigger and better since then. And it's just really wonderful to look back on what they have done and see that we could help them at this like very vulnerable, pivotal time for them.
Yeah.
And one other one that's a newer one is the Pearl Theater up in Bonners Ferry, which if anybody has not been up there, you got to go because they're doing incredible stuff. And whatever you like to do, like to see different kinds of styles of performers, they've got it. And it's like Jessica and the whole team up there is doing incredible work. So they came and they were like, can we maybe work on a grant? And gotten feedback several years ago that perhaps they weren't grant ready, and they had taken that very seriously and they'd gotten grant ready, but they hadn't like had that confirmation that they were really ready. And so I like looked at their stuff and it's like, let's put this application together, and you can always decide if you don't want to apply, but you just want to do this process. And they did, and we applied. But through the process, counting up their impact was really important, so we could tell the story of like what are they doing in the community. And it turned out that they were serving, as of April, they had seen a quarter of the population of Boundary County through their doors.
That is wild.
Like, what other place up there sees that many people of any background? Like, they don't say only this kind of person with this kind of leaning. It's everybody who likes to see a show, or who wants to come hear some comedy, or wants to come do. They have these different like fine arts program too. They've opened it up from just performing arts to like any kind of art that you want to do in the community. They have different instructors and programs, and just their vision is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like bringing people together.
I love it.
And so they got the grant, and they were so excited and able to move forward with hiring their first staff too. And like, I guess I love seeing that of like an organization that's ready to just take that next step forward so they can explode into their mission fulfillment, and how grant writing really can be pivotal. It can be transformational, and it can be a barrier. Like if you feel like you can't go through the process, or it feels too much, because you got a million other things you got to do.
Right. And so your services, you can write grants, you can track grants, you can find the grants. You kind of like to tailor that for your client. Then you want to talk a little bit about how that works?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I first sit down with the representative of the organization and hear where are they at, what are their needs, what's on their mind and their heart for their organization. And maybe they know about a bunch of grants that they want to apply to, and they need help just feeling confident about the process. So then we would work on that from there. And they don't even know what's out there, and they know that like grant funding is a thing, and so then we talk about what that process would look like and how it could work for them. And we might start with a little prospecting package of like, let's do some time finding like several great leads that you can do. Like I have access to a couple of databases that are subscription based, so I can absorb that cost for them and just find some leads for them, and then go do the work of vetting and finding out like who have they funded and is it possibly a likely good fit, and then putting together a package. Like I like to work with each person of what's their price point, what do they have in their budget, what are my skill set, what resources do they have in the organization in terms of pulling in volunteers, or maybe they have a board member who's really great at writing and hasn't done a grant before but could help provide content. And we see like what can I do to reduce costs for them but could still provide a really excellent and competitive grant. So we bump out their capacity, with a little bit of help, and then we apply, and then we wait, and then it, hopefully it gets funded. There's industry like norms are 10 to 30% of success rate, which seems so dismal. It really can be quite discouraging. And I just added up my numbers, and I was blown away of like, it's 70% so far, and I still got like grants out there that are waiting, and I was like really encouraged about that, and I'm excited that I can offer. And it's like I can't say that's going to be that way for everybody, because each organization is different, and their who they're going to be applying to is different. And the more risks you take, the it might be lower. But then you might find that funder that's kind of obscure, but then it's going to be your repeat funder. So it's worth it, but you have to like adjust your risk management of like how many new funders do you want to go after. And then I also help with like managing the funds after. If you're doing a federal grant or a state grant, that's going to be as much as, if not more, complex than applying. So having somebody who knows the rules of the Office of Management and Budget, and like how to not get in trouble with the IRS through how you use the grant funds, like can be really confidence building, that I can help people with that. But if it's like a foundation grant, just knowing like, here's when the report will be due, these are the questions that will be on the report, this is what we said we will be tracking in your grant, so please set up ways that you're going to be gathering this data, providing a spreadsheet for them if that would be helpful, and then like maybe a couple checkpoints along the way of like how's it going collecting that data, because we do not want to get to like report time and you're like, oh, did we collect it? I don't know. We have to go back now and think, like, let's just get ahead of that. What I love about grant writing is that yes, it can be stressful, but so much of the stress can be unpacked. We know when the deadline's going to be. We know what the questions will be. We know ahead of time. So much in life we don't know. We have to roll with what comes. And with grants, sometimes you find out about something and an opportunity is due tomorrow and you roll with it and you get it done. But mostly you know several weeks, if not longer, in advance. So we always like work back and we make sure we're not coming right up against the deadline. Nobody needs to be losing sleep or staying up till midnight. Like, we can get this done in a non-stressful way ahead of time.
I love it. I love it. So we have an opportunity, or our guests have an opportunity to come and hear you speak on September 8th at the ED Collab, which is hosted here at the EnVision Center. And do you want to just share how that came about and what you plan on letting people know about then?
Yeah, for sure. So Dig Krismer, who is the Northern Region representative from Inovia Foundation, she and I go back a ways to my days as the Teen Center's executive director. She was on the board at that time, and we were also both Leadership Sandpoint alumni. We didn't go through at the same time, but like once you're a Leadership Sandpoint alum, like, you know,
solid.
You're
Absolutely.
good. You're in. Anyhow, so she and I have had the privilege of working together to understand community needs since she took her position at Inovia and I started my business, and she asked if I would come speak to the ED group that she's facilitating and just like help them with grant things. I was like, sweet, can we do it like preparing for grant season, which is like late fall to spring. For some reason, foundations have all conspired to have their due dates like January and February, sometimes a little before some, you know, and I'm exaggerating, but it is a thing, and like to be prepared for that. So what I asked is like, could I come and talk about grant strategy and like how to set up your annual grant strategy for least stress and more success? And yes, I made it rhyme because it's easier to remember. But like let's unpack the stress of it. Let's see what's coming up for you, and how to say like how many grants will we need to go for? What's our target number of dollars we want to raise? How will we get there, knowing that like the grants like success rate isn't like how maybe we need to apply for 20 if we want to get 10. Like how to think through that. Like I want to present some different options and then give a lot of time for conversation, and maybe we do some exercises of like how would you run through those numbers? How would you set up your team? So you know, like, well, we needed to find 5 new leads for this project that we have, or we want to, like, there's different aspects that would go into planning your grants year, and you might find out that you might need to allocate your staff time a little bit differently so that you can get these different deadlines met, or pull in some volunteers, or how to resource yourself before it becomes crunch time. I really want to help people re-relate to grants, that it doesn't have to be like panic mode the night before the grant is due. Like, let's pull that further ahead in the timeline and bring in the resources that you already have or you might need so that you can be successful with that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and all the answers will be in the room. I am so excited that the EDs will be there because a lot of them are successful with grants already. So there'll be chances to like bring up what's a kind of a question or a sticking point for you, and I would love to like ask for people to pipe up what works for them. Like, just because I'm a grant writer by trade doesn't mean I have all the answers, and I'm looking forward to learning.
Absolutely. Well, I know that the ED Collab is excited to have you there, and that our community is better off because of you. And I hope that that we can continue to partner and stay close and know what you're doing and use your services and get people plugged into all the great work that you're doing. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for listening to today's episode. For more information, you can go to crecIdaho.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again soon.